when do we need to use mediation in a divorce?
In my office, what we do is, it depends on the family. Some people come to us before they get to divorce, before they file. They're exploring their options at that point. Some people come in while they're in the process of it. Some people come up when they've been well into the process of it and feel that they're at a roadblock and they cannot get through. And then sometimes people come in and host decree matters. Like there's a problem with visitation, as Sonny mentioned, when you start blending families or having step families, a lot of times the game plan changes. And they use mediation to help reestablish visitation or different parenting programs.
What is the difference between mediation and conciliation, and what do those programs try to accomplish?
The conciliation program is a court-ordered program, as you had indicated. The program started, I believe, in 1986, and it was set up with a group of psychologists who basically could use the skills as therapists to do psychological testing and evaluation of parties. The program was mandated for those couples where custody was an issue, where there was, and it might have been a genuine issue, it might not have been.
Right.
I think, as we all know, custody tends to be an issue, but a lot of times it's a negotiation, it's not a true issue. Right. At that time, then, the parties were ordered to conciliation, and they would go with their spouse and eventually with their children to be evaluated by the conciliator, who, if the parties were unable to reach a resolution of the issues in the conciliation process, would ultimately then make a recommendation to the court. In fact, that person is the court's witness. That is a conciliation program, and the difference is, I think, the primary difference between the conciliation program and the mediation program is that in a mediation process, if the mediation fails, it fails. There is no recommendation, there's no information that comes out of the mediation. Whatever agreements are reached are the agreements that are reached. They may reach partial agreements on some issues, they may reach agreements on all issues, but the mediator or the person that's facilitating the process does not become a court witness, in fact cannot be called into court by the parties, and basically is a facilitator to help the people process the information and basically get them in a room to talk to each other, and as Sonny said, develop those communication skills, because if they're going to parent for the next 2 to 18 years and then, you know, experience weddings and graduations and life events with their kids, they have to be able to talk to each other, and mediation hopefully is a way to get them in a room and scream and yell if they must in the beginning. Typically, by the end of the process, they've developed some skills that they did not have prior to coming in there.
So I've mentioned previously that custody is the main topic that comes up. Can you give us some typical problems that require your involvement, typical situations that you run into in the course of your work, and we'll kind of look at some case examples.
I think a lot of times what happens is that they believe that the other person is a good parent, but they feel that they're going to be cut out of the access of the kids. That they both believe that each is a good parent, and they certainly wouldn't want to place their children elsewhere, but that they're afraid that the time and the contact that they would have with the kids is going to be stripped away from them. And I think as Karen has pointed out, the biggest problem that I see when it comes to custody is that people come in with incredible distortions about what custody is.
Yes.
Everyone and their brother has a horror story to tell them about how they don't have access to their children or what happened, and based on the information on the street, so to speak, and certainly a lot of times without consulting with an attorney, they have bad information from which they're making their own decisions, and they probably have a friend or a relative who is experiencing some really traumatic problem relationship with their children because somebody literally has up and left, and they can't access their kids, or whether it's the mother has taken the kids away from the father or the father has just taken off. I mean, so the horror stories are out there. A lot of times it's overcoming the bad information that these people have in their head and the fear that that's going to happen in their particular case.
Okay, I want to really spend some time on the issue of how much parents get to see their kids. I feel it's unfair that one parent, and let's forget gender at this point, gets to be with their children the whole time, and another spouse only gets to see them every 2 weeks for a weekend, and maybe once a week on an evening. Who determined those meager allocations? I mean, can we start looking at more flexible models of visitation so that the parent who doesn't have sole physical custody can see more of their children? Maybe this will alleviate and decrease those horrendous battles.
Well, that's the benefit of mediation.
Exactly.
The people can develop innovative, creative ways of having more time with their children.
One of the things that I do, which is really effective, which is a very simple tool is I give them 12 pieces of paper, which is January through December, and it's a calendar. And when people start putting, this is the weeks of vacation, and this is my weekend, and this is your weekend, and this is the holiday weekend, particularly in the summer, all of a sudden visitation falls into place. When I start talking in terms of every other weekend, alternating holidays, 1 day a week, it's in the abstract to somebody who is in crisis. But if they can on a piece of paper say, mom's house, dad's house, here it is, here's when the kids were, and particularly today when kids themselves are so active, I find that most of the time kids have at least one commitment, if not more, a week where the parents are going to participate together, or maybe 1 week mom's going to go, 1 week dad's going to go, whether it's a t-ball game or a soccer game or whatever it might be. And by putting it on a calendar, it just becomes real. It diffuses the problem because it's not stuck in somebody's head where they're thinking about it and trying to position what's the best thing. And if I give her Memorial Day weekend, then I'm going to get 5 weeks in the summer instead of. It eliminates some of the craziness that goes on.